Hey guys, it's Brick Thunder, and today we're going to be unboxing, setting up, and doing a demo of the Lowe's Halloween 2023 8-foot Skull Witch. Alright, so here she is. First of all, huge thank you to Lowe's for sending me this awesome prop. This thing is definitely one of the most talked about, especially after my video of the whole Lowe's lineup. People were really surprised with her size, and I was too. She's very, very tall, and her proportions are huge as well, which is kind of crazy seeing how tiny this box is. The last few I've unboxed, all the big ones have these giant boxes. This one's really compact down into a small box. And you can actually see the boxes in my main video, and those are pretty small too. This is a sample, so this does look different than the released ones, but even the released ones, pretty tiny for such a large prop. But yeah, so I have seen her there, but I have not unboxed this. I haven't even looked in the boxes. It's still taped, so let's open it up. Here we go. All right, let's begin our unboxing here. So, like I said, have not looked inside this, so I am excited to see all the parts. I do remember her size pretty well, but I'm sure I'll still be surprised by the proportions. All right, opening this up, here we go. So first we have what looks to be the main dress. There it is, all of the clothing there. Here is an arm with a hand, which this is an awesome hand. It actually reminds me of Crouchy and Possessed Pumpkin from Spirit. These are very similar. The sculpt is different, but very similar size and feel. There it is. Put that down. We have the other hand here. This one is awesome. So it's carrying that main skull there, which lights up. But then there's also these dangling skulls that are hanging down with the rope. Really cool concept. Very unique witch. So here we have the head and the hat. So this thing I think is supposed to be on here because she also has hair on here. But there she is. She's great. There are some scratch marks on this side. Not too bad from the front though. She is looking awesome. Very large head. I love her eyes too. Her eyes are great. And then obviously the hair is attached to the hat there. Looks awesome though. And her mouth moves there. Then we have, let's see, we have a mechanism right here. Her mech I have been interested about seeing because it is a pretty cool one. We have a hunchback piece, some extra padding right there, a hip loop for form. But then here's the mechanism. Now, it's a pretty unique one because what happens here is there's a bearing down here which allows this top to tilt it back and forth with another large bearing up here. Really, really cool. This one is made by Jemmy, and they definitely did a great job with that mechanism. That looks awesome. We have a ton of metal here. We have some leg pulls, it looks like right there. Then we have some other leg pulls down at the bottom, one other leg pull. The rest look to be taped to the base here. And there's the base. Pretty thick metal right here, but a fairly small base, especially for her size. That's what keeps the box pretty small. But that's all of our parts of the box. Let's get to the setup. All right, so let's begin. So I was a bit confused on what these 4 poles were until I noticed what they are doing here. These are not leg pulls. These are actually support poles. And there are slight little holes for snap locks down in the base. Very difficult to notice at first, but once you do, you see how these go. And that makes a lot more sense because I was worried that this thing would definitely need weight because her movement, at least on some of the videos, is very fast. And you don't want something like that being as big as it is falling over. And it did look like it might, but now with these, definitely not. This should be extremely stable. And we have our final one over here. And that completes the base. And then we can move on to the legs. So starting with the B poles, none of these are labeled here, but the B poles are straight, and they're both labeled B, so it does not matter where they go. These can go on either side because they are made the exact same. There we go. Then we have our C poles up here. These make the leg bend because she is actually bent over a bit. And I'm not sure how obvious that is with the dress, but she is. Put this up here. And then let's move the camera up and we'll continue up. All right, so now that the camera is moved up, we can attach the hip and torso piece. This also has the entire mechanism in it. This is just going to snap down like that, and there we go. so now before we add the clothing, I usually find it easier to add this piece. This will help guide the clothing down a bit easier instead of just going over sharp metal. There we go. That is now put in. She's definitely going to be very tall. Awesome, awesome height. So now what we can do is I'm going to actually grab a ladder because she's getting very tall, as you can see, and then we'll slide the entire dress over. Now quickly, I did remember we have the hip loop, and you can just slide that over the top like this, and then it'll connect right there. So that is the last thing you got to do before clothing goes on. We can do the arms and head right after. All right, so now what we can do is just slide the clothing all the way down and bring this dress all the way to the floor. All right, there we go. Clothing is all adjusted now, looking really cool, and we can adjust stuff later if we need to, but for now, I'm gonna get these arms on. So we have her solo arm. This is not holding anything, and what we wanna do over here is just slide it right up the sleeve, then we can access from the back if we need to, but I think this sleeve is large enough that we can just bring our hand up and find the prongs. All right, prongs are in. Then we can just find the Velcro on the sleeve here and Velcro it to the hand. And then we can just adjust all of the creepy cloth to make it perfect here. But that looks pretty good. I like that stance right there. Hand looks good. All right, let's get her other hand and arm on here. We're gonna do the same thing here, slide it up the sleeve. And this arm is held much higher because she is showing off the skull and skulls that dangle down. And now we can attach the Velcro up here and attach the two down here that close it off. All right, we can adjust the clothing just a bit more, but that is looking good right there. And I can adjust the creepy cloth off camera to look even better, but already looking pretty cool. Now, our final step is the head and hat. So they are separate right now, so I'm gonna bring up the head first. And the head moves with gravity, so as soon as we get this into prongs, I can show you there's no motor attached to this. This is just going to be able to swing. So, as you can see, it's already swinging, but when it moves, it's really going to do that, and that is really cool. They put a wire in the hat, so you want to adjust that first, but then we can just bring this hat up and then Velcro it to the front of her head. We can then adjust the hair and then Velcro the back one as well, and that is looking pretty good right there. So that completes her setup. She is awesome, very tall, very creepy, so let's go to her demo. Here we go. All right, she's all wired up and ready to go. Let's plug her in.
For centuries I have waited for this moment to cast a spell for the ages. Come together and gather, or prepare for the consequences. I'm missing a few skulls for my boiling cauldron. Mind if I borrow yours? Look into the eyes of the skulls I hold before you. They will lead you into the dark unknown.
All right, so there she was, the 8-foot skull witch from Lowe's Halloween 2023. This thing is really, really cool. This is definitely one of my favorite witches of all time. She's actually pretty scary, and witch props I usually don't find very scary, so that is definitely really cool to see something this terrifying and intimidating as a witch, because that theme usually doesn't seem to have much that is for the horror genre. It's usually more kid-friendly type stuff. Overall, I don't really have many complaints for this thing at all. The mechanism's awesome. Love the way it moves. I love the way it looks. Like I said, this is one of the only ones I actually find scary. And I definitely like the concept too. She's trying to get you to look at this main skull that's lighting up, and then she also has the smaller shrunken ones hanging down. Also, I mentioned before, I love the eyes. The eyes, I usually don't like light up eyes, but these ones are just super unique. Love that white glow coming from the middle. Really, really creepy, especially in person and especially at night. Also, for being an 8-foot prop, she actually has a very simple setup. This was one of the quickest I've done in the last few days of some of the larger items. This would definitely be the easiest. So if you want a large prop without a difficult setup, this is definitely a great one. So she retails for $280. Definitely think that's fair for the size, for the movement, and for the overall detail of this thing. That's a lot going on for only $280. I'm also really impressed with the quality, especially for that price. You are getting a really nice quality animatronic. This thing is built like the 12 foots. It's got the same square poles, very thick metal. So this thing should be pretty good even outdoors. And she actually does, it looks like on the instructions, this one didn't, but it looks like she actually does ship with tethers. So you can tether her into the ground and then she will really be lasting outdoors. But yeah, there she was, 8-foot Skull Witch. Huge thank you to Lowe's for sending me this, and thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.